Alright, hello everybody. Today I'm going to be showing you an alternative to using Pro-Boolean. And so a few people on my master's course have had like kind of a problem with using Pro-Boolean quite a bit. And the main issue that they've had is that when they use it, they end up having a lot of topology cleanup to do. And one of the problems of using Pro-Boolean is just that you have a lot of cleanup afterwards. And don't get me wrong, there are certain situations where Pro-Boolean is really, really good, or Boolean is really good to use, and it's kind of helpful to get the kind of shape you're after. But for me, I kind of avoid it when I can because I prefer doing as little cleanup on the topology side as possible. And so with that all being said, let's get into it. And so we're going to be using this kind of shape for our example today. And so as you can see here, we're really going to be seeing if we can achieve this kind of shape. We're not going to worry about anything else right now. It's just this kind of round part over here. And so that's the thing that we're going to be tackling, and we're going to be seeing if we can be doing it without using Boolean, and if we can do it with using more chamfers and with using a single plane to kind of rough out our topology. And there's a couple of other concepts I want to go over, a couple of tips for doing turbo smooth as well, so you can get this really nice round shape over here. And so with that all being said, let's get started. And so we're going to jump into our modeling program over here. As you can see, I've got like a few different copies of different attempts that I've done of trying to get this shape just to prep for this tutorial. But what we're going to do first is we're going to make a plane, and we're going to make a square plane. And you can actually do that if you make pull out by holding control, and you can make everything perfectly square. And then from there, if I just get my reference up, there we go. From there, what we can do is we just want to make a grey material. So I put this on, and I always set the roughness to 1 just to get a real clear view of what I'm doing. And let's treat ourselves. Let's also put on some high qualityness. There we go. So from here, what we're going to do is we're going to go and we're going to see if we can make a hole in the middle. And the way that I do this is that I go and there we go. I go and use the cut tool, and then I go and make a cross. And the reason I make a cross is because if I do that, then I can then select this middle point here, and then I can go and chamfer it. And if you chamfer this point, what's going to happen is that you're going to get this shape, and you can press this button over here to open it up, and then you can press the vertex depth and then bring it all the way down to 0.5 minus 0.5. And we're going to keep the topology at 1 just to keep things as simple as possible. And there's a good reason why we're doing that, which I'll explain in a bit. But from there, what we're going to do is we're just going to press OK. And then we're going to see if we can get this kind of shape, because as you can see, it's kind of got a rounded part over here, and then it goes off straight down here and kind of cuts off. And so in order to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to go to our top view. So there we go. And then we're going to go and add in a cut. So if we add in a cut over here, get it relatively straight, and then we're going to do the same down here and just do a cut so it's straight. There we go. And then from there, what we're going to do is we're just going to get rid of all these different shapes down here. So this one, and this one. And then we're going to go to our vertex and just get rid of this rogue vertices over here. There we go. And so from here, what we can do is we can begin thinking about the kind of shape a bit more. So to me, it seems like it's a little bit more closed in. We can just close it in a little bit like that. And then it also seems like this part is a little bit wider. And like I said, I'm just going to be focusing on getting the broad shape of this part. So we're not going to worry too much about the rest of it for now. But yeah, from here, what we're going to do is just make this a bit longer. And then from there, what we can do is we can go and add in one more cut into here, like so. There we go. And then from there, we're going to add one more cut here. There we go. And we're just going to quad it all out nicely so that we don't have any n-gons bothering us later on. because Turbo Smooth does not like n-gons too much. But from here, now that we've done that, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to set up our Turbo Smooth so we can make this nice and round over here. And so to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to go and add in an inset like that. So we're beginning to get the triple edge looping, the supports in other words, so that we can start to get in that support so that there won't be any breaking in the Turbo Smooth. And then from there, we're just going to be adding our cuts into here. And this is kind of leaning onto another point that I mentioned, I touched on before, is that you want to kind of like set things up, kind of like scaffolding, if you like. So when I'm modeling something, I try and set everything up really early on. And the reason I do that is because it makes things a lot easier later on. So if I set up all these edges now, then the consequence of that is that I don't have to do this work later on. And any kind of edge that I extrude out of here will follow on from this topology. And so now that I've got all these edges on here, I'll just add these last ones onto here so that it's fully complete. There we go. And just add these last ones onto here. And so once I've got this kind of thing down, then what I can do is I can go back into perspective view, select all these side edges like so, and then I can hold shift and then drag down. And as you can see, this is a really important point, is that all these edges are following along with it. That's why I went into the top view with the cut tool and then added all these parts onto it, because it made it a lot easier, so that now I don't have to go with the cut tool and then go drag down here and do all that mess. It's already done for us, and it's relatively straight as well, so that's quite nice. And then from the last thing we need to do is just add supports onto these side parts here. And this is kind of what I mean by triple edge looping, is that we've got 1, 2, and then 1, 2, and then 3, right? 1, 2, 3 on every single side of this shape, and that's going to make it really nice for our Turbo Smooth. And the nice thing about Turbo Smooth is that it's completely non-destructive, so that when you can add it, you can take it away just as easily, and you can like toggle it on or off, and you can have a look at your simpler topology. And the reason that's a lot nicer is because, at least for me and my own experience, is that I prefer to kind of keep my shapes really simple, and then to build up the subdivisions and iterations later on. That way I always have a place that I can kind of go back, you know, if I want to redo something, and it saves me Control-Zing a whole bunch of times, and it makes it a lot more easier for me to kind of get that shape down, that core shape that we've got here. That is kind of the very bare bones of this. It gets that very core shape down, and then from there I can just make it more complicated if I wanted. And if you're not using Turbo Smooth, and you're say using Pro-Boolean, or you're just modeling manually, another really helpful thing to do is just to kind of duplicate your models at relatively frequent points. That way you can kind of save your progress, as it were, and if you mess up later on in the model, you can always go back to that previous version. Saves a lot of headaches later on, let me tell you from personal experience. But from here, that's pretty much it. And so if I wanted to, I could then go back onto this and then start messing around with other different shapes, and then start getting more of this shape going around. And then I could, you know, re-add a Turbo Smooth and then just work from there. But that's pretty much it. Just a really nice alternative to using Pro-Boolean. And as you could see, my setup was completely done. I had no n-gons. I didn't have to worry about connecting 1,000 different pieces of vertices. It was really easy for me to make this shape. And again, the main reason was because I was able to get that topology done early on. And then from that plane, I was able to scale or extrude downward, and then kind of build out my topology there. So I had the scaffolding, and then from there I could kind of go and refine it and work on it and stuff like that, rather than doing all the work and then going back and adding the topology afterwards. It's a lot more of a less headache free way of working from it. And so yeah, going to be sending this to a few people who I think it might help, but with that all being said, that's pretty much it. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.